Hello, and you're very welcome to another edition of the JMac podcast. I'm John Cavan, and of course, this podcast is brought to you by OrgoRetro.com and Atak Sports. Use my promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on OrgoRetro.com and get the best skins, gloves, and equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And tonight, I'm joined by Mullahorn senior footballer Enda O'Reilly to chat about this weekend's county final between Cavan and Ramor on Sunday at 3 o'clock. So really look forward to the game this weekend, and we'll have a quick chat about last weekend's junior and intermediate finals that took place between Drung and Den and Butler's Bridge and Ballyhaise, and obviously Den and Butler's Bridge coming out on top in both games. So Den 2-11, Drung 1-7, Butler's Bridge 1-12, Ballyhaise 14 points. But it's the focus on this weekend. It's going to be an absolute classic, let's hope. So Enda, how are you keeping?
Yeah, not bad. All good. Looking forward to the weekend now. Should be a mouth-watering game. Two of the form teams in Cavan, and just the rewards that they made the final on Sunday. They've been the two form teams, obviously throughout the championship, playing good ball. Obviously Cavan, the league champions, current league champions, have been flying. They seem to have blitzed everyone this year in the championship so far. Would probably score didn't do justice, but they got over the line again. Kingscourt looked very handy in the end now. And then obviously Ramor, they got through a bit of a dogfight there at the Gales, but looking forward to it now. Should be a great game of ball. Very hard to call at the minute now, but looking forward to it definitely. Yeah,
100%, and you could definitely say that again. And two informed teams, and obviously we were touching on the games a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, Cavan a few weekends ago, they bet obviously Joe Dillon's Kingscourt team very convincingly in the end. They're really helping the informed team all championship end. They've shot the lights out, goals galore. Runners, absolutely everything going through the middle. Conor Madden shooting lights out in the last game. So they really are the informed team this championship, Enda.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've alluded to before, they've had a number of young players introduced into the team this year. They've all seemed to take into senior grade very, very easily, and they're going well. They seem to have a lot of runners coming from deep. They're very well organised. Dermot and Finton and James and them have them very, very well organised, and they're going to look to take the game to Ramor. I'd say people probably look to Ramor as being the more experienced side, having been in about two finals already in 16 and 19, and obviously having won it in 16. Probably look to them as been maybe slightly more experienced, and probably maybe slightly more experienced. But Cavan, the form team, they'll relish this weekend, and they've a lot of good people around them with Dermot there, to keep them right for this weekend, and no better man in the club to get them right for a final than Dermot McCabe,
Really, and Dermot has been there, done that. He's one of Cavan's all-stars, and he's a lot of experience. And I suppose this game this weekend, and obviously it's the penultimate game. It's the last game of the Cavan championship, so it really has flown by. It's hard to believe the junior championship's over, the intermediate championship's over. The game Sunday, it's hard to believe. Really, it has all really flown by, Enda.
Yeah, it wrapped up fairly quickly. Since I think we went back to league football back in May. The shortened season, we probably ran off fairly well in the end. The fact that the league football was wrapped up before championship worked really well. I know a lot of clubs would find it difficult once they're knocked out of the championship to go back and play league football. They'd probably find it difficult to get back going again. But the championship went fairly well, and again, as I said earlier, we're looking forward to the penultimate final this weekend, and we hope that it's a great game of football, and we finish on a high.
Definitely, and obviously it's a huge game this weekend, and obviously we're kind of looking at both teams, and like later with talent, and we really have been so impressed by Cavan this year. And we keep alluding to the fact that all the experience of obviously Mark McKeever, Ger Pearson, everything goes with it. Kind of having that stamp in the team. Derek McCabe managed them as well, and so they're littered with experience, littered with talent. So is now the time for Cavan to win the first senior championship since 2002?
Yeah, I suppose this week, having the likes of, Mark Keever, I'd say he would have had a big part to play in the dressing room and even around training. Since the Kingscourt game, he would have been talking to a lot of the younger kind of boys, you'd imagine, at training, and he would have, the experience that he would share with them. I suppose a lot of the younger players would have drawn a lot from that, and he would have been talking a lot in training and getting the lads right for this weekend. But yeah, again, with Dermot McCabe, even, they've Ronan Bannon in goals, Ray McKeown, they were all part of teams, from the early 2000s, early 90s that would have won championships. And as I said already, the fact that Dermot's there as well, to have him, to have him talking and sharing bits and pieces and vital bits of information and getting them ready to go for Sunday. You know, it could easily be Gowna's time. They're young enough as well, I'd say. You wouldn't know if they got over the line this weekend. They could open a door for a couple after that. It's you never know really after this weekend.
Definitely, yeah, 100%. And obviously, Gowna, like as we keep alluding to the fact that they have been so impressive, and I was watching them closely in the semi-final, like we all were against Kingscourt, and it just looks so fit. And even I think when the final whistle blown, you just seen the likes of all the Maddens, all 50 Maddens, just still running so much energy, and so like they just look like they could easily play another 35 minutes. So you know, obviously Derek McCabe has been there, done that. He has a big stamp on the team, Fintan Riley as well, but like between it all, they just are remarkably fit group of lads. Like it just seems to just be so standout, like runners through the middle. Just their attacks are extremely good, so they're impressive all over the place, and
yeah, that seems to be the way they're playing this year. They seem to have, you know, they seem to rotate a lot. You know, players' positions seem to mean very little with Gowna this year. I think young Fionn Brady has gone forward a lot this year. I'd love to know what he's contributed to Gowna's scores this year. I'd say he's easily got 2-4, 2-5 maybe in different games. You know, they seem to get bombed forward from deep, and they just need to be picked up. Runners need to be tracked and followed up the field. But their defence have bombed forward loads and got loads of vital scores throughout the championship for them. And then obviously, you know, you've got lads around the middle of the field that can play either inside or out around the middle of the field. Connor Madden, you know, Connor Casey wears 15, but he doesn't seem to play in there a lot. Obviously, Robbie Fitch plays inside, but can play out around the middle of the field. Then obviously they've Connor Brady, but they just seem to have runners from deep. Their youth, their legs, nothing phases them. They're playing with abandon. They're going at it from the very beginning. After water breaks, they seem to target getting early goals, and they all seem to get 2-3 goals in a lot of games. I think the only game they might have got one was against us in the quarter final. And I think we would have targeted that, try and keep the goals down and deny them goals. It'll go a long way to beating them. But I wouldn't be one bit surprised, if Rammer parked the bus this weekend, and try to hit them on the counter attack, because, they have themselves, Rammer have lots of legs, and then they have the boys inside. I think if they can maybe down on the counter attack, finding the likes of James Brady, Paddy McNamee, and Shawnee McAvoy on the counter might work in their favour.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you're mentioning the fact that Connor Brady is absolutely lording it in the middle of the field, and he has just, like, I know you obviously probably appreciate how good his left foot is. He's an absolute powerhouse, and he's trying to probably make the breakthrough under the county team. If Gowna get over the line on Sunday, Enda, this will definitely rubber stamp probably Connor Brady's place in the Cavan team maybe for next year, because he really has had an awesome championship, Enda.
Yeah, he's definitely looking in, player of the year territory at the moment. In every game, he's really stood out, and he's carried the fight to that position each time. He's comfortable at centre back as well. He can get forward, he can get scores. He seems to win vital ball for Gowna around the middle of the field, and he's a good footballer first and foremost. He's a good footballer. He's a big man. He can win primary possession for Gowna, and he's going to have a huge part to play this weekend, whether Gowna can get over the line or not. But it'll be interesting to see where he lines out. As I've said, he can line out at centre half back. But I'd imagine he'd probably go into the middle of the field. Him and Lawrence Caffrey probably have a ding-dong battle together on Sunday. But yeah, Conor Brady's definitely player of the year territory, especially if Gowna can get over the line this weekend. He's a huge game for them. He's comfortable, going back the field, and obviously he can get forward as well and get scores. But he's going to have a huge game this weekend. And a huge part to play in whether Gowna can bring back Oliver Plunkett after 19 years.
How important is Mark McKeever to this team? And obviously, because he has been around the block, he's the Silver Fox. He's been there, done that, and he's probably looking as good a shape as ever. And it's just a pity the age is against him, because you nearly would have put him on the Cavan team in the last year or two. He's absolutely fine, even next year. But how important is Mark McKeever? Because obviously you've played against him potentially with a numerous amount of time. So what impresses you most about him? Because he just looks very calm in the ball. He runs when he needs to run. He's very experienced, and to have a lad like that on your team, that's only going to serve you well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Mark is he's a fantastic footballer, very, very, very good on the ball, and very versatile. Can play can play. Obviously, he's been lined out full back. He can play anywhere in the half back line, half forward line. That man can play in numerous positions around the field and be very comfortable and can give such a contribution from any position in the field. I suppose in the last couple of weeks, he would have had a huge part to play in the Gowna setup and the Gowna, leading up to this final. A lot of players would be looking to him. I'm sure he would have been very vocal and has been very vocal in every year, particularly for Gowna. But I'm sure these last couple of weeks he would have come to the fore this year in particular. Having been there and done that as a footballer for Gowna, he has the medals to back it up, and a lot of their younger players will be picking his brains, I'd imagine, in the dressing room and that. And he's vital for Gowna. But just his versatility, he can play anywhere. He's been full back. He'll do a job for you. He can drive forward. He can get scores. It'll be interesting to see who he'll go to this weekend. But he's a huge player. The younger lads, especially, I'd say, will be looking to him, and to have that experience along with Ronan Bannon there, particularly Ray McHugh as well. Those three lads will be huge players this weekend, and that balances it out as regards to youth and experience in that kind of team. But again, McKeever, Mark, brilliant footballer. He always has been. And he'll be going after probably his fourth senior championship medal. He probably thought at times since particularly 2007 when they were last in the final, he mightn't see another championship medal, but he stuck it out. We've seen some lean periods for Gowna since 2007. In fairness to him, he's dug it out. He's been a mainstay in that team. Through thick and thin. They've gone through a couple of relegation battles and they've never gone down. In fairness to the club, they've stuck it out. I think they bet Arv in a relegation final in Lacken. I think Conor Madden hit another monster point against Lacken in Breffni Park under Lights another year, if memory serves me right. And McKeever has dug it out. He's stuck with it. And in fairness to him, he's got a league medal this year already. And if he could get a championship medal to go along with that this weekend, you have to say McKeever's been an absolute stalwart to that Gowna club. In fairness to him, what a footballer.
Great tribute, Enda. I agree with all that. It's funny because I was chatting to him a couple of months ago, him and Ger Pearson, and Mark, I think he was probably questioning if he's going to finish up, but him and Ger just want to kind of give as much advice to the young lads, and look where they are now, and that they're in a championship final on Sunday, and fair play to them. It's an absolute credit. Mr. Ryan McGahern, he's the captain of the team, and obviously he'd kill me if I didn't give him a mention. He's always on the floor to me and give me stick, but he's a leader. He's the captain. He's had a very good championship. He's listed as number 22 or 21 games in various games. Well, maybe that's trying to maybe upset the opposition, but he's a good leader, and he's building blocks with this Gowna team, Enda.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably been around now the last 7 to 8 years anyway. Gowna, he's been playing in defence there, and he's probably a very stubborn fella. He'd play on anyway. I think he has picked up an injury. I know from when we played them, he didn't start. I think he broke a bone in his hand or his wrist. And he was out injured, but I think I was reading during the week he had numerous injuries throughout the year this year, and the first time he's ever really had an injury. But I can't see him not sitting out this weekend. I can't see it happening. I think I'd imagine he'll go in and he'll pick up a key forward for Amber this weekend. But obviously with them younger lads, he's probably a big personality with all them younger lads. He probably gets on fierce well, obviously with all the younger players, and he's Mr. He'd be a big player for Gowna. He's a die-hard Gowna man. And obviously he'd be looking to lift the cup this weekend. But I'd say he's a big player in our dressing room, and he'd be very determined, very raw, Gowna hard man. I'd say he'd be looking to pick up. Obviously like James Brady, he always needs to pick up a dangerous forward. I think against Crushelaw he picked up Paddy Lynch. So it'd be interesting to see who he goes to this weekend. And who Gowna deploy on James Brady will be interesting as well. But Ryan McGahern definitely have a big part to play in the matchup this weekend with Rammer. He's not going to sit that game out. 100% not going to sit this game out the weekend.
Yeah, I think the leader full deck of cards to get over the line on Sunday. And obviously, I was referenced at the start, Tiernan Madden. I just kept a really good eye on him in the semi-final end. I don't know if you were watching on. I think you might have been hungover that day, but he had an absolutely terrific semi-final. He just looks like he could run all day. So just a word on Tiernan Madden and what he means to this team.
Yeah, he's. I think I suppose I would have been watching the podcast there with Andy Moore and Paddy Andrews, and they would have referred to the Tyrone players like the McGearys and the Conor Milers as transitional players for that Tyrone team. And you could nearly compare, like, I know Kieran Madden to, like, he's a wing back. You could pair him to that as such in the Gowna team.
Peter Hart. Maybe.
Peter Hart, Kieran McGeary, Conor Myler as regards a transitional player where they get the ball from their defence and carries ball forward. Tiernan Madden has been huge player for Gowna this year, revelation for them. What a find! He slotted in their wing back, very very comfortable on the ball, and he carries ball up the field. And he obviously can get scores as well, like the brother Keane. They're two very very dangerous footballers. If they're allowed to play and allowed to transition and carry ball forward, they will cause serious damage from deep. And again, going to have massive say this weekend. But Tiernan, huge footballer, huge future. I'd say under 20s or seniors, if he has a big final, you wouldn't know. He could be stepping into a blue jersey next year or in the coming years, and he's definitely got a huge future ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And then, of course, we can kind of move into the kind of the full forward line and the half forward line. And as you were referencing there, into Keane Madden, the likes of TJ Fitzpatrick, the main man Conor Madden, and Conor Casey. So there's a lot of score getters there, Enda. A lot of lads that Rammer really need to be paying big attention to. But they are serious men to have in that Gowna team, because at the end of the day, each of them men, Enda, could win you a game of football.
Absolutely, yeah. Serious footballers, all can get scores, comfortable on the ball. Obviously, Conor Madden he's going to take serious watching. He's got numerous goals, numerous important scores since the championship started, and he's going to take serious watching this weekend. But obviously, young Casey as well can get scores, vital scores from deep. Robbie Fitch as well. They're all very very good footballers in their own way, and they're going to take watching. I do think though slightly Rammer may have the upper hand in their six forwards. I think that they might cause slightly bigger threat across six forwards between Simon Cadden. Obviously Paddy McNamee has come in this year. Doesn't seem to have lost his pace in any way, shape or form. But I think James Brady, Shawnee McAvoy, Simon Cadden, I think they may just have the slight upper hand this weekend. But it's very hard to call. But Gowan have some serious footballers. But definitely I think they're run so deep. They're around the middle eight. That's where their main threat is, and where their main score getters are from.
Definitely. Obviously, we've seen Conor Madden shoot the lights out for Cavan, and he was pivotal in Cavan's Ulster Championship win last winter. And so Gowna will really need a big game from him this weekend, because at the end of the day, it's a county final. We've seen lads like Conor Madden in the past, a county final, stepping up a county final day. It's a day like no other, Enda. So Conor Madden, at the end of the day, he will need to be at the races.
Yeah, absolutely. Massive player for Gowna. He'll be relishing this weekend. Looking forward to it, I'm sure. He's great experience behind him, obviously, with the success from Cavan last winter. And again, he's been massive for Gowna this year in the championship. I got big scores for them. And he'll be looking forward to this weekend. Whether he plays out the field or inside, he's going to cause a massive threat to Rammer, and they're going to need to really look to, to put the clamp on him from early on. He's got serious pace. He's very big, strong man, physically strong, athletic, and he's going to take serious watching this weekend. And you can imagine, if Gowna win it this weekend, he's going to have a huge part to play. Absolutely.
100%. And yeah, well, that's the Gowna end of things covered. Rammer, Enda. So obviously a seriously impressive team, littered with talent. As I keep referencing, the Brady brothers, Jack, James, Ado Cole up front, the age-old Paddy McNamee flying, definitely not looking his age. He came back, first time playing football in 10 odd years for Rammer, so seriously impressive stuff. They'll be looking to them gentlemen for this game this weekend. But what threat the Rammer pose? Because obviously we see Gowna running through middle, deep runners, kind of such a good attacking threat. So Rammer will have the work cut out this weekend. But what can Rammer bring to the table this weekend, Enda? Because it's a huge task and the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, the biggest thing Rammer I find can bring is just raw pace. Obviously they have the experience as well, but definitely the pace. James Brady inside is lightning quick. Shawnee McAvoy on the 40, he's been a revelation this year. Again, Conor Brady, you could be looking to him for Player of the Year. He scored 1-4 from play against Cavan Gael semi-final. He was massive for them. Again, nothing seems to phase him. Great dead ball striker off the ground, but just raw pace. Jack is quick enough too, despite he might be more than himself getting on a bit, but he doesn't seem to have lost much pace. He can bomb forward and get scores. But I just think they might have that little bit of experience, having been there, done that already in the last decade. They've lost the final already, which they probably won't want happening again in 2019, and they'll be looking to tomorrow to kick on and get back the Overrun Cup to Virginia. But just pace and a little bit of experience, I think, definitely this weekend. James Brady, Shawnee McAvoy, Simon Cadden, athletic, very quick as well. Just raw pace. I think it's gonna look to harm Ghana that way. I wouldn't be surprised if they sat back. Went with the Ghana runners that are going to be coming from deep. Went with them, tried to turn them over half back line in the fence, and then bang on the break, rammer away. They're Jack Brady's, Larry McCaffrey, Matthew McGee. All these lads are going to try and look to go on the break and hit James Brady and Shawnee Mac with fast ball, and try and counter attack Ghana. They'll probably look to get at the likes of Mark McKeever maybe. Try and get someone pacey on him. I'd be very surprised if Ghana allowed it to happen, but they'll probably look to target maybe the like of him for pace that way. But I'd say they'll probably look pace as huge thing this weekend for Ammer. I'd say that's what they'll look to try and turn them over and fast ball inside and get scores on the board quick that way.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I referenced this in the last podcast, but the role of Jack Brady playing from centre half back, it's an intriguing role, because we obviously did see him playing for Cavan under 21s, Cavan seniors in the full forward line, and obviously he was fantastic. But he really has thrived so much in that role, Enda. Like, he's just up and down the pitch. He runs the pitch with the ball. He's so athletic. He's a very accurate player. But that centre half back role, Enda, it's an intriguing role, because did anyone really see that coming? Because I know he's been there for Rammer the last couple of years, and obviously the elephant in the room, a lot of people will be saying, oh, why isn't James Jack up full forward line? But it's actually suiting Rammer down to the ground. And that running game that they're going to have, Jack will be able to stop them runners, because he'll run with anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the biggest thing with Jack is he's just a very, very intelligent footballer, and Rammer seem to... They like to get Jack free no matter where. I think at different times against us in the earlier rounds of the championship, they'd probably look to get him free, even play him at wing back. They probably look to get him free as a spare man, so that he can, when the ball, I suppose, when they're in their attack, and particularly us, we like to drop men back at different times. They would have brought the ball back around the loop and would have been recycling the ball around the 45. And Jack was a late runner on to different attacks. I think one of their first 2 to 3 scores, I think Jack was a late runner, and they managed to find him out around 40, 50 metres out, and he smacked one over the bar from 50 yards out. He was a late addition to their attack on that particular occasion. He banged one over the bar 50 metres. He also can carry ball out. He can find a pass from 50 yards out of the fence, a quick transition. He's very good at that. He's just orchestrating things from that position. He's a leader in the team first and foremost, and he's a great talker, very smart footballer, aware of what's going on around him, can see things going on around him. And again, they will look to his experience this weekend in that centre half back position. He's like a quarterback, I suppose, this year with them, between go forward ball, getting scores, and he gets back, he gets stuck in the fence as well. Don't be fooled. He gets back and he gets stuck in. But yeah, they're definitely going to look to him. Hugely experienced player, and if he could have a huge say maybe in the Cavan jersey yet. Who knows?
He could rattle the net on Sunday as well, Enda. So I don't know what the odds are for Jack Brady to bag a goal this weekend, but I'd be looking into them after this one. But and obviously moving down the pitch, you have the likes of Sean McAvoy, as you were saying, an absolute find this year, and obviously Martin Tynan was saying to me last week, very humble lad, stack shelves and super value in Virginia. There, just gets on about his business, goes on about his work quietly, and just a very unassuming, quiet lad. He's had an absolutely sensational championship. He's scoring points for fun. He scored 1-4 against Cavan Gales, the all-conquering Cavan Gales. So Mr. McAvoy's having an impressive championship, Enda.
Brilliant championship, yeah. As you said, the find of the championship. Very pacey player. Low centre of gravity. And Ghana are going to look to have to put the clamp on him again early on. But yeah, he's a very good player. Playing on the 40, he allows James inside and Paddy Mac to run right if he can find him a ball. I think he has a bit of a soccer background as well, which stands to him. Especially striking off the ground is phenomenal. And again, nothing phases him. Although I do think this may be his last year. I heard a rumour that he may not be back with Rammer next year.
Stephen Kenny wants him in. Stephen Kenny wants him in.
Yeah, that's it. I think he has potentially signed a contract. I'm not sure which club, and he's going to go into a soccer career again. But yeah, look, Rammer will be looking to definitely exploit him this weekend and get as much from him this year while they can, because I think he may not be available to them after this year. But the find of the championship, raw pace, low centre of gravity, can get scores, and he'll be looking to find two lads inside and hit them on the counter attack. But yeah, great bit of stuff. It'd be a pity if he does go to soccer, because he probably could have a great future for Rammer, and even Cavan if that way inclined. But huge player this weekend, absolutely.
Only thing is, Enda, you get Disney squad playing GAA, so
That's it.
So that one way of looking at it is, if he's looking for the coin aspects of things, fair play to him. But again, yeah, he'd be a serious loss if he was to go. But moving on to that, the likes of James Brady, Aidan O'Cole, and Paddy McNamee. So that's a lovely blend of experience. Aidan O'Cole came on the last game and didn't start. Will he start Sunday? It's an interesting one to know. A county final is a very pacey game. You don't really get much time to think. Aidan kind of likes to sit inside, but it's county final. You'll not get that kind of time. You'll not be able to afford to do that. So, Aidan O'Cole, will he start Sunday? I know he is team captain, but will he come off the bench? What's your verdict on it? Yeah,
it depends. Like if I was saying to you earlier, if they do decide to maybe to go and hit down on the counter, a fast ball into like him, I'm not saying that they're going to start, playing long ball in from deep into Aidan O'Cole, but it might be an option for them. It's very hard to call whether he does start or not. There may have been an injury in the background there that we may be aware of, might not be aware of, but I'd say, if they do decide to go that way, he might be definitely an option inside, and he will take a defender away from maybe picking up the likes of James Brady, because obviously Ado takes watching as well. So whether a defender can go with Ado as well, it might take a little bit of pressure off the likes of James Brady and Shawnee McAvoy. But he's definitely a great option even to come off the bench as well. Ado Cole, great ball winner. He knows where the goals are. And he's captain of the club as well, and I'd say he'd be looking to start from the get-go this weekend and have a contribution and help the lads get over the line. It'll be in him, particularly the Coles. They're a huge family in Rammer, and I'd say I'd be very surprised if he doesn't start this weekend, to be honest with you, John.
Definitely be interesting to see, and he should definitely have a big say in the game. James Brady shooting lights out all championship, left foot, right foot. He's a sensational player, and I think I said to you in the last podcast, he doesn't probably seem to have a lot of interest in the county set up at the minute, but what a player, Enda. Again, I'm unassuming that goes about his business in a very quiet manner. Flying all championships, so he's a serious asset inside, Enda.
Serious asset inside, yeah. The biggest thing I find about James is he's equally as good off his left and his right. If you were to ask me which is a stronger foot, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Again, he's very, very pacey, but they do look to find him a lot. And the quality ball going into him is brilliant. Jack looks to find him. Shawnee Mac looks to find him. Even Lawrence McCarthy looks to find him a ball inside, bouncing in front. Lovely ball. You'd like to be getting it all day yourself, playing inside. But he's been flying. He's flying, but he's just equally as good off his left and off his right. It's a pity if he doesn't decide to go in with the county, because he's definitely got a lot to offer that inside with Cavan, going forward. But again, his pace is going to be key the weekend. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you stop Mr. Brady, Enda? Because obviously Gowna do have the full backs. You've Mark McKeever, Ryan McGahern really doing really well back there. So who maybe goes on James Brady? Because we see James kind of making these very decisive runs. He doesn't make these dark runs, obvious runs. He's a very smart, cute player. So who are we talking, Enda? Like, are we talking maybe Mark McKeever, minding the house, kind of keeping tabs on him? Is there a man marking him, someone in front of him? Is it Ryan McGahern? So who, if you were obviously Gowna, Mr. Dermot McCabe, Fitton Riley, who would you be putting on Mr. James Brady this weekend, Enda?
I see Ryan McGahern picking him up, and I suppose a lot of it will probably go down to Gowna maybe denying ball going into him. It's really, obviously they're not going to deny it for the whole game, but if they can deter most of the ball going in into James Brady over the course of 60 minutes, that'll go a long way too. But I see Ryan McGahern picking him up. Ryan will be, in his space from the get-go. He's not going to look to give him much, and any chance he can, he's going to look to leave a mark on him, I'd say, throughout the game. But I see Ryan picking him up. Definitely see Ryan picking him up and going toe-to-toe with him and trying to look to get the better of him over the course of the game. But it'd be interesting to see. I imagine McKeever will go Paddy McNamee. Potentially look, they cancel each other out. Two oily old players experience, but maybe not. I could be wrong. But I see Ryan going in on James maybe and trying to snuff him out from the get-go, which will be difficult enough task in itself.
And we seen obviously Kingscourt and Gowna kind of going at it in the last game, and obviously Kingscourt couldn't really handle Gowna's runners and everything went with it, and Gowna had so much joy going through the middle and just the side, the flanks, everywhere. Basically everything did go right for them, and that they kind of made light work off Kingscourt. But you know, if Ramor are to stop that, and you were obviously alluding to Jack Brady kind of stopping the runners, but if Ramor are to stop that, what way do you kind of set up your defence? Because it comes so quick. Like these lads, they're 18, 19 years of age. The tanks just to go running all day. So how are Ramor going to stop it? Because you know it is an endless threat, Enda, if them boys do get going.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, you could follow the runners and go with them. You know, I think young Brady got scores against Kingscourt. I don't think there was anyone followed him up the field at all. He seemed to be free. I think a ball broke to him inside there. The Kingscourt 21, the ball broke to him, and he was just there to pop it over the bar. You could just follow the runners is key, pick them up. But I imagine he could maybe potentially park the bus against them, trying to turn them over and hit them on the counter attack. To be honest with you, I think that might be the way to work it. They'll get ball inside. They have lots of runners, lots of legs too. Ramor, if they can follow the runners, turn them over and hit them fast in the counter attack and look to exploit like Paddy and James, JMac inside. Yeah, that's the way I'd imagine Ramor might go, but again, you know, Ramor might fancy themselves to go with the runners, go man for man all over the field, because Ramor will have legs too, you know, from everywhere across the field, particularly the middle eight. They'll fancy themselves to go with the runners. It could be one of those games where it's 15 on 15 across the field, as opposed to parking the bus where Ramor might drop back and try and hit them on the counter attack. It's hard to call. It's hard to call which way Ramor might go. You know, Ramor are a traditional side. They never really play too many back behind the ball. I imagine they could potentially go with man for man, to be honest with you, and see if they can beat them 15 on 15. You know, Ramor fancy themselves have the better 15 footballers on the day and the more experienced players on the field. So I wouldn't be one bit surprised if Ramor decide to go 15 on 15, follow the runners, go with them, run with them from deep, try and turn them over and then hit them. Going the other way fast. I wouldn't be one bit surprised, you know, because like I said, Ramor have runners, they have athleticism in their team, so they'll fancy themselves if they do that they'll come out on top. They'll fancy themselves as the better 15 players across the field, and they're a little bit more experienced than Gowna for county final days.
And Gowna simply aren't going to get that space like they did in the semi-final. So, like, if Ramor are to kind of press the, I might pause there. No, we're back in. Yeah, if Ramor are to stop this kind of fluid running that Gowna do pose, like Gowna are not going to get this space. So if Ramor are to park the bus, as you were kind of saying, what the Gowna do, because we know Conor Madden is very good from shooting long range. Mark McCaver is very good from shooting long range, and he can support the play. But if the bus is parked, what way would Gowna approach that, Enda?
Yeah, that's probably something that maybe Gowna haven't faced this year. And I know maybe at times we probably tried to flood the defence and that, and it seemed to, it didn't seem to phase them too much. I know they like to get runners deep and kind of break the lines, support play from deep. But definitely, Gowna have enough experience in their team to keep possession of the ball. They won't panic. Conor Madden, these lads, will look to kind of get on ball. But like you've said, they're able to get scores from range. Ryan Dunn can get scores from deep. Conor Madden can get scores from deep. Robbie has a big left boot in him as well. You imagine they won't panic. They'll stick with it. So it's interesting to see, like, other than maybe ourselves, maybe flooding the fence at times. I know we were well bet in the end now, don't get me wrong, but at times we flooded the defence when we got it back, maybe 6-3, 6-4. We denied them goal chances in the first half. But it didn't seem to phase Gowna at all. They seemed to get runners from deep, and where we were on the attack at times, and I think they turned us over. And once they turned us over, we couldn't get back, we couldn't get set up, and they just absolutely blitzed us with runners from everywhere in the first 10-15 minutes, and they went 6-1 ahead. So Ramor will be wary of that. If they do look to do that to similar to us, that when they do go forward, they have to be very, very efficient, and when they do go forward, they're going to have to get scores, because if Gowna turn you over, they're going to hit you at pace. and they'll be very, very efficient the other way. Like they have been in the championship this year. They'll look to get goals, and they will look to, deliver, major sucker punch to you early doors and get one up on you. And they seem to have been doing that. They've got their goals, they've got their vital scores different times, and opposition teams just can't or haven't been able to rebound from that or pick up from that. It's gone from them.
Definitely. It's probably a very loaded question, but I suppose if you get into the nitty gritty of it, what exactly do Ramor need to do to get the win on Sunday? Because obviously we talk so much about it, we talk about the players, we talk about tactics, but the nitty gritty of it, the Oliver Plunkett, to get their hands on it, what do Ramor need to do? Because I know it's a big task. There's a lot of Gowners, little with experience, little with talent. But if you're Ray Cole this Friday night, getting the lads out for training, what's he saying to them, Enda?
Yeah, he's probably looking to draw on the more experienced players this weekend and get the most out of them as possible. That they go into Breffni Park first and foremost. They stick to what their plan was or what their plan has been all year, and they go and perform. That they go and execute their plan that they've been talked about all week. And that they deliver on the day. Like I've said, I don't think it'll phase a lot of the Ramor boys. I think 13 at the side have played in the 2019 final, and they're hungry as well to bring back another championship. They haven't won it now in 5 years. They've been thereabouts with semi-finals. They're back in the final this year. I think that they'll look to push on now. I think they'll back themselves as being the best 15. The Gales game would have stood to them. Usually it was a dogfight. They go over the line by 1 point. They've won games this year as well, pulling up. They've won games everywhere this year. I think they've the best 6 forwards. I think they'll look to back themselves, to execute their plan, execute that the way they've been training all week, and that the experienced players, the Barkeys, the Jack Brady's, the likes of them, Ado Coles, James Brady's, lads with Paddy McNamee even come back in this year. A lot of experience. They'll look to them boys now this weekend to really deliver on the day and to execute the plan that Ray Cole set out for them. But I expect it'll be tight this weekend, absolutely. But I imagine Ramor, their more experienced players, we look to this weekend to bring it back this weekend for them.
And Gowna, end of things. What's Derek McCabe, Fintan Riley saying to them tonight? And what are they going to do to get their hands on that Oliver Plunkett Cup? I know there's so much hype about them. Like, are they going to read into the hype? Will the nerves kick in? I know it's a very nervy occasion. They haven't won one since 2002, so it's a massive day for the club. It could be a potential banana skin. It could be one of the greatest days of their life. What can Gowna do to get their hands on this Oliver Plunkett on Sunday?
I don't think they're going to look to try and change it up too much. I know I probably would have thought Kingsford might have got over the line in the semi-final, being that little bit more experienced. But you probably could say the same this weekend for Ramor over Gowna. But it didn't seem to cause too much of a problem for them in the semi-final. I don't think they look to try and change it too much. I think their younger players just have to keep doing what they're doing. It hasn't phased them at all. They're going to look to keep their running game going, keep the rotation game going, and try and get the scores on the board early. Again, like the Ramor boys, are going to look to their experienced players, and Conor Brady and Conor Madden, McKeever, even Ronan Bannon, goals have a huge part to play. But I don't think Gowna look to try and change too much. They'll probably looking to lump the pressure on Ramor, given that they've contested 2 finals already this decade and have medals in their pockets that way. But obviously, other than McKeever and Bannon, I don't think there's anything much that way in the Gowna dressing. But I don't think they'll look to try and change too much. They'll relish the game, they'll relish the task at hand, and they'll go in all guns blazing on Sunday. Gowna, I think.
Definitely. And if you were to call it, Enda, what are we thinking? Because I know we were chatting off air. You're a big advocate for the draw. It is a very, very hard game to call. But if you were to call it, what are we thinking?
I honestly, I think it's going to be very, very, very close. I suppose if it comes down to it and it's 15-15, depending on what way teams line up, and if Ramor decide to go with the runners and it's gone to that kind of way of a game, I think it could be a tactical battle as well on the field. But I'd say, if you were to put it on paper, obviously, Ramor probably fancy themselves to have the best 15. Defensively, they're strong as well. And I'd say maybe if there is to be winner on Sunday, I'd say Ramor might just come good in the end by a point or 2 max. But again, it's very, very hard to call. But just Ramor having been there in the last number of years, and the fact that they had a close one against the Gales in semi-final, and obviously they've had games earlier in their previous rounds they had won pulling up. I think they've won games everywhere there is this year possible. And again, I just feel their 6 forwards are the best in the county. They're all at a good age, but I feel like they'll just snatch it maybe if there is to be a winner on Sunday. I think that Rammer potentially by a point or two on the weekend maybe. But it's very hard to call.
Very hard to call. Very hard to call. Just a couple of brief talking points just surrounding the game. You've obviously Pat Clark refereeing the game on Sunday, and obviously a few people are kind of talking about it during the week, and maybe there's that bit of frustration. Has Pat Clark kind of skin in the game, kind of refereeing big games like this is going to be on Sunday? Maybe you could have had the likes of Joe McQuillan in for it, and Pat Clark. I think I was watching them ref an underage game last weekend and seemed a bit out of touch with it. So it's a huge call for this weekend, Enda.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure if it's Pat's first county final as well. I think it might be. I think it's his first county final. Yeah, look, I mean, who'd be a referee? It's not an easy task, refereeing a final, refereeing any game in particular, especially a first county final. Yeah, look, you have to give. Pat's been given the task this weekend of been refereeing the county final and that. And look, you have to wish him the best of luck. Hope that he can contribute to the game as best as he can, and to contribute to a finale, and hope that it's an entertaining game first and foremost, because it does strike, or it does show to us, or does display to us that it could potentially be a big final, a very good game of football. And look, the best of luck to Pat today. He's refereeing a number of years now, and he has the task, and hopefully he can contribute as best he can to being a big game.
Definitely 100%, and the very best of wishes to Pat Clark. One more talking point, and I know we're Cavan men and we don't like spending money, and that's been the truth about it, but ticket prices, €22 for the stand, €20 for the uncovered terrace. Years gone by, it just wasn't as hectic as that, Enda, so the county board want their money back.
Yeah, it's a bit steep now, £22 for this weekend, but again, look, I don't think too many out Rammer or Gownaway will argue the prices again. They'll be going in their droves. But again, the neutral might be too pleased with that. €22 is definitely a bit much. Is that for the cover stand, John? The
covered stand. It's sold out now. Yeah.
Sold out. Yeah. And then across the way in the hill is what, 10, 15.
I think on unreserved $20.
$20. It's crazy prices. But again, with COVID and everything that has been the last year and a half, they're probably this year, particularly the two informed teams in the county, they're probably targeting a lot of neutrals to go and attend this weekend. So look, it's a bit steep, but like I said, a lot of Gowna and Rammer people, they don't care what the price of tickets are. They'll be there in the rows, and they'll be in force to watch the weekend.
It's on Cav Stream as well, so if anyone is worried about the price of the tickets, it's €10 on Cav Stream, so don't worry folks, don't worry, they'll have you covered. And obviously touching on last weekend's action briefly, Enda, Den on Saturday night, 2-11 Drung 1-7 in the junior Cavan final, so the Den lads have to stop drinking, Enda.
I know, yeah. I've seen a few Snapchats and Instagram stories now. It looked like they had a busy week, but look, it's brilliant for them. Having lost the final, the delayed junior final last year, and obviously, as a parish, what they've gone through, in the last year or so. Yeah. It's brilliant for them to have come out the other side of it and have got the success. And obviously, the fact they lost the last year's junior final, they were the team to probably beat in this year's one. And but that doesn't count for anything. You still have to go and deliver on the day. And they got over the line in the end, in fairness to them. The likes of the Tomas Scores and the likes full back, and these lads have delivered to them in the end, and they're back up intermediate, and a fair play to them. Obviously given what they've gone through. But what about Gaffney's speech?
Class,
brilliant speech, and congratulations to them, fully deserved, and be good tips with them now next year if they manage to draw Castlefran and any of the intermediate championships. To be good tips there.
100%. And obviously, referencing that speech end as well, I think it was Michael Gaffney's speech after the game. It was just a terrific speech. A cup just means a cup is more than a cup. Den have just been through horrific times in the last year or two, and it's very horrifying stuff. So football, it's a fantastic outlet, and getting the cup, it's great scenes. I've seen a picture of Ben Connolly and his sister after the game as well. It really is more than a game, Enda.
Yeah, definitely. I think it reminded me a little bit of ourselves, and when we won the senior championship in 2012. I think the parish had gone through an awful lot of hurt that summer, And you could just sense it. Every time we went out, we had the whole parish behind us. And then thankfully when we got over the line in the end, but you knew it just meant so much to obviously ourselves that were involved, but to the parish. It meant so much to put a smile on their faces and to bring back a cup and to celebrate together in the parish after a long and hard year. That year was brilliant, and you could sense that. Even in the speech at the end, you could sense that he was speaking on behalf of the players, the management, and the whole parish. And he spoke really well, and fair play to him. And they're obviously out in Ulster now in a couple of weeks, still looking to keep the show on the road, the show going, and to give Den lots of journeys up in Ulster and to keep the thing going. But they would have enjoyed their week, and fairness, and they deserve it. After everything they've been through, it's a credit to them.
Still are enjoying it, I think. Still are enjoying it. And a word on obviously Drung, Enda, fair play to him getting to the final, and obviously at the likes of the two Rileys up front, and Mr. James Riley still between the sticks. I think he's just going to play it. He's about 60. Fair play to him getting to a final, Enda. A very small community down there. They'll be back no doubt.
They'll be back, no doubt about it. Yeah, some things you have to lose them to win one, and you imagine, James Riley. Hopefully, he does stay around for the like of Drung. I'd say they're hoping he stays around. But yeah, no, look, they'll have to just, lick their wounds and go back to it next year and try and, go back at it next year again and get back to that stage again next year and bring themselves back to a junior final. It's easier said than done, as we know. But they'll be disappointed. But hopefully there's a few good lads in that dressing room. Hopefully they look to go back at next year and get themselves back in contention to that stage and look to compete for another junior championship next year.
And then obviously on Sunday, intermediate final, Butler's Bridge 112, Bally's 14 points. A serious win for the men from the Bridge. Bally's are so close at the end. I think that some great chances, few questionable decisions. I don't know, did you get to see watch the game? But I think Stephen Smith got took off near the end. Kevin Tierney kicked the free at the end. He went short with it, and serious chances at the end. Bally's did have a great chance, but at the end of the day, it was Butler Bridge day. Keeping Riley, Fintan Riley, absolutely incredible up front. So the men from the Bridge, great win for them.
Great win for them. Yeah, I watched it back there over the day, over the weekend. Brilliant win for them. Disappointed maybe with Ballyhaise. I would have tipped them before the year began to along with maybe possibly Cullen's to win the intermediate. I'd say they're probably kicking themselves all week. But you have to hand it to the Bridge. They've been knocking on the door. In 2018, we beat them in the semi-final in Lacken. We got over the line. I think they were missing a couple of key players that day, and they've obviously lost a couple of finals since. So it's not a complete and utter shock to them to win it. They would have been quietly confident of delivering an intermediate title this year. And in the two Rileys, we have match winners. Fionton centre forward, and obviously Grieving inside. Two excellent footballers, and obviously the wily old head in Fergal Flatt, wing back. He's going to give it everything. To the cause. Paddy Flynn as well, the county 21 experience from back in the day with ourselves. Good players, loads of good young talent there, and they'll probably would have fancied themselves to win this year. And credit to them. They'll enjoy their few days as well. It's the first time they've ever become senior as well. So that bunch of lads they'll go down. They'll be remembered forever in the Bridge.
And it's an inspiring stuff as well, and obviously Butler's Bridge getting over the line, because obviously blinking you'll miss Butler's Bridge. You just go through it like in the click of a finger. So it's a small community. It's a fantastic pitch. It's a great setup down there. I think it was relaunched in 2015. They had the big pitch opening. So fair play to them. It's a small community, but by God, they're thriving.
That's it. They're underage. It's thriving. They've great grounds down there. I think we played London in the pitch opening back in 2015. The challenge match. But yeah, no, they've got great facilities down there. They've turned the whole thing around, and their underage is thriving at the minute, and it's no shock that they're delivering at senior level. I think I was listening to Cavan giving his speech in the lead up to intermediate final. He was saying that when he was at underage, none of that was kind of happening, where they were contesting Division 2 and Division 1 finals, and he's saying that they're doing that now. And when he started out, there was 12 or 13 I think at training, and now they have huge numbers out, and the thing is turning for them big time. But they've lots of talent there. They're a good growing club outside the town there, and fair play to them. They're doing things well there, and they're getting a just reward. And I suppose in Darren McCarthy, they have an excellent manager, a vast experience, huge experience in Darren McCarthy there. He was close to bringing Crystal over the line in 2018 in the senior final. The fact that the Bridge lost last year's final to a strong Balliol side, and getting him in last Christmas or last January, whenever it was a huge coup for that Bridge team. And he would have experienced big days before, and he would have been able to keep them well grounded and build up that final. But a huge win for them, and they're going to look to build now on that and retain obviously their status as a senior club next year. That'll probably be their main objective next year, and build from that again.
100%, and obviously if you've been following them on Snapchat and Instagram, the likes of the Butlers boys, I think they get the haircut every second day, and they get they're well groomed, the eyebrows done. So would you be backing all that crack, Enda?
No, absolutely not. No, it wouldn't be. I think that's a generational thing. But yeah, no, look, it's all right getting that done, but if you can back it up on the field, you can't. I wouldn't be able to argue with it. And I think there's a few in our dressing room like to do it a bit too, and it definitely doesn't suit from where we're from. And but there's Cormac Riley, I think, is the hair bleached at the minute, but he doesn't. I haven't met him now in person since the game again. But I can't wait to get a hold of him now and let him know what I think about that. But no, look, as long as they're backing it up on the field, I don't really care. That's the main thing for me,
Dermot Sheridan, could you explain that haircut at the minute? Or?
I think he purely put that down to COVID and lockdown himself. But no, I don't think we can explain it now. Not too many can, but he might be able to give you a better explanation than the rest of us. But sure, look, that's it. Sure, we blame COVID and lockdown for that one.
100%. And a quick word on Ballyhaise. They'll get back on the horse, no doubt. Kevin Tierney is just a brick of a man. He had a serious championship, and I hope to see him maybe back at the Cavan team next year. He had a great championship. He was really good. Maybe that was Stephen Smith's last game for Ballyhaise. Maybe a disappointing way to go out, but he did win in 2015. He's been a great servant to Ballyhaise football. They're going to build serious blocks next year again. They'll be hot favourites again for intermediate next year. So all in all, not too bad of a year.
Not too bad. I think they will be disappointed, the fact that it was Butler's Bridge that pipped them in the end as well. But it could be difficult as regards. It might be a few retirements. Let's say Martin or Goose. Is it corner forward?
Stephen Smith.
Stephen Smith. Goose Smith probably be potentially his last hurrah at that. You imagine, and maybe Conor Lyons in the middle of the field might look to step away as well. You never know. But again, they've been huge mainstays in the Ballyhaise club and Ballyhaise senior team for the last number of years. He might look to hang around. But yeah, Kevin Tierney, sure. We all know the talent that Kevin has. A wonderful left boot as well, very strong. Once he has it, you're not getting it off him. But he shot the lights out, in fairness to him. He went a long way to try and to bring the cup back to Ballyhaise, and he kept going till the bitter end. In fairness to him, he had a brilliant final, a brilliant championship, and a brilliant player for them. Whether he goes back into Cavan or not, I don't know. I think he's a year older than me. I think Mickey's going with the youth now. I think, and it could be difficult more than I with Dermot to go back into that. But yeah, very disappointing for Ballyhaise. I think that's 2017 now as well that they've lost an intermediate level to Shercock. The fact that they were Division 1 in the league this year and held their own in Division 1 playing against the senior sides, they were going well, and probably would have fancied themselves to win the intermediate championship and get back up senior. But I think they were in the under 17 final. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, before. So they do have a lot of young lads there that probably will be able to step into it. But I suppose with Dave Brady, Michael Brady, they have got a lot of young lads there. But whether the old brigade hang around, like the Goose, Conor Lyons, these lads hang around, it'll be interesting to see.
100%. And just a quick word on that. Obviously, we did kind of see Kevin Tierney in and out of the Cavan panels the last couple of years. So maybe did the game suit him in the last couple of years? I know it has gone very defensive, but like a player like Kevin Tierney, he would be a serious asset to have in that Cavan team. I know he was there in 2019 and they opted out again, but we could really be doing with Kevin if he was to commit.
Yeah, look, he's definitely good enough. Probably not now at the minute, maybe with the age thing, but he's definitely has been good enough. you know, to being in that Cavan panel, you know, he's a target man. As regards whether the game has suited him or not, it's hard to say. I suppose back maybe 2013, 2014 when he started out, I think 2014 he had a good league campaign. He started out, but maybe different things when he was in the panel, maybe different bits of injuries and stuff that he might have picked up just didn't suit him, and maybe the interest following or on the back of these injuries, the interest might have waned on him a little bit, and we probably just didn't get to see the best of Cavan. Yeah, look, it's hard to know whether the game went from him a bit as regards whether it suited him or not. But you know, the fact that Eugene was there, Givney and these lads were trying to fall forward, probably didn't help things either as regards Kevin's development. But look, Cavan is a fantastic player. Played with him under 21 and that. I think in 2012 he could not be handled in the Ulster Championship. He was the top scorer. You know, at full forward, he was absolutely. He was lethal for us that year, and you know, for Ballyhaise, he's been huge for them. And you know, if they do win any intermediate in the next couple of years, you know, he has to be part of it. Absolutely has to be part of it.
And just because last thing on it, like I was watching Ballyhaise against Killishandra in the semi-final. I don't know, did he get a chance to watch it, but they played some absolutely incredible football. They really wiped Killishandra, they wiped the floor with them, and just like again looked really fit at the end. Could have played another couple of minutes. So you know, obviously it was disappointing for them on Sunday because they really did have a great semi-final, they had a good championship, and they didn't really probably play to the full potential in it.
No, they didn't probably play, but in fairness, credit to Butler's Bridge, probably just didn't allow them to. You know, Butler's Bridge started really, really fast, got some good scores early on the board. It took ages for Ballyhaise to settle into the game, you know, but once they got settled and they got the lead going in half time, I fancied them to go on and kick on from there and go and win it. But credit to Butler's Bridge, they never lay down, and they got that goal after half time, and you know, and they stuck it out in the end. But you know, in fairness to Butler's Bridge, they probably didn't allow them to. There's that element of it too. They didn't probably allow Ballyhaise to settle into a rhythm, and you know, they got their quick start, they got their early goal, and you know, they probably just overall they were probably the best team, and they fully deserved it based on knocking on the door the last 2-3 years. They probably deserved it, you know.
100% and 100%, and fair play to Butler's Bridge. And then the celebrations are ongoing, but the lads deserve it, especially Den. A tough last year too, so fair play to Den, fair play to Butler's Bridge, and best luck to both teams this weekend in the senior final. Rammer Gownet buzzing for the game and cannot wait for it, but the price to take it, lads, sort them out. Enda Riley, thanks a million for joining me this week, and of course this podcast is brought to you by OrgaRetro.com and Attack Sports. Using my promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on OrgaRetro.com and get the best skins, gloves and equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. Enda, cheers, enjoy the weekend.
Cheers, thank you, bye.